Nifty 50. That's right. This is the 50th episode of Hotline League. We've been doing this for almost, over a year now. I don't know how we only have 50. It should be 52. But it doesn't matter because this is the 50th episode. I don't know if I've ever done 50 of anything in my life. But here we are on Hotline League. Guess what, guys? Cloud9's in. We talked about that last episode. But Team Liquid, not so in. 100 Thieves, I don't even know if they exist anymore. We're going to talk about so much here, right here on Hotline League, starting now. And then this is where a mystery sponsor, eventually their thing will be here. It's not here.
The coolest wipe ever.
Yeah, it'll just... And that'll be the sponsor. They are sponsoring this. I can't wait to tell you guys who they are. But we're building the hype. That's what it is these days. You have to... You got to build the hype. The mystery. All right, now we're into the show. Mark is here. Mark, my constant co-host. How's it going, Mark?
As much as I try to not be your constant co-host, you refuse to do these without me.
Yeah, that's actually true. Mark tried to skip one, and I didn't let him.
Yeah, and that was the one that resulted in me having a battle with the EU Reddits.
Yeah,
because I was tired.
Yeah, so
that's why.
You got any more angry EU comments? Because I think that helped us traffic a little more. So if you can, and that was number one on the subreddit.
I had two threads because Raz responded too.
Yeah, he just threw you under the bus too. He was just like, "Goodbye, Mark."
What? He just said his thoughts. I don't consider someone having different thoughts throwing someone under the bus.
Yeah. Well, regardless,
anyone who disagrees with Travis from now on is throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, I mean that's how I've always viewed it. If anybody disagrees with you either agree with me or you're my enemy. So that's just a warning to everybody. We also have Inero here. Inero, who is the newly minted...
That's a yikes noise. That was gross.
Mark, we're trying to keep the viewers, okay? We're not trying to lose them.
Dude, everyone loves my ASMR video. I get more credit for that than I think anything I've ever done.
Wait, you did an ASMR video?
Yeah, it's one of those ones that's you have to be a big fan to have seen it.
Mark, can I introduce Inero?
Oh, sure, right.
It'd be nice. Inero is here. He's the newly minted. Are you officially is the title head coach?
Yeah, it's head coach, Golden Guardians.
Okay, well, congratulations on the gig. You certainly got your work cut out for you.
Thanks, dude.
But yep. I'm sure you're up to the task. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that all came into place? Because so far I think we've only seen like a press release.
How it all came to be? I mean, I wasn't really intending to even come back to coaching with my whole opportunity and stuff. I was just wanting to focus on actually building out just a completely different subset of things for esports to kind of help the developmental aspect of things with players. Just really honestly happened into this opportunity opening up, which I mean obviously made contacts with Golden Guardians and I did the consulting work with them. So they had new management come in, they set that whole thing up. I have a lot of respect for Danon. Danon reached out to me and basically just, the offer was there. I was able to basically do pretty much what I wanted to do outside of all of this anyways, while being a part of the team, while coaching. Just exactly what I wanted overall. If I could keep coaching, do all of this stuff, and have great management, that's what would keep me in esports. And was super lucky that actually opened up. So,
nice. What was the really opportunity? Because it was really vague when you left Echo Fox. What it was? Can you tell us more, anything more about it?
There's nothing super specific. It was legitimately just looking to actually do independent stuff to help the actual developmental part of academy players in League, because I feel that system is really, really awful at the moment. Just overall. I wanted to help with that, and I was going to do stuff outside of League. I was going to go back to my lighting gig with stuff where I used to do live lighting and sound production stuff before I got into esports. I was going to work in that while doing the developmental stuff for League on the side. And then if things opened up in esports overall, then I would look to go into that.
You want to go into lighting, but you come to our show with the yellow light.
Yeah, I mean...
What a resume.
Not just any lighting, Mark, but live lighting. And he's on a live show. I do lighting with
other people's money that they buy the lights for. I'm not buying my own lights.
Well, I would just say right now your resume looks pretty poor. I can understand why you went back to coaching, because I don't... Yeah.
Yeah, don't you want this hellish
Come on, dude.
inferno like I have behind me?
Yeah.
I mean, if only
Yeah.
would be nice.
Very good. Well, we are we're here with an arrow, and we are in between group stage and quarters, which is pretty hype. Worlds has been enjoyable to say the least, and we were lucky enough to do one in the middle quarter or in the middle of groups. Since then, we now know that Team Liquid is out, 100T is out. Lots to talk about there. Fnatic and G2 are
LMS
in.
is out.
LMS is out. All of LPL is in. 2 LCK in. So we know the groups, or not the groups, but the draws for quarters. And there's a whole lot of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation buzzing around about 100 Thieves right now, and how much everyone hates Nate Shot. Not true, but there's that.
How much do you hate 100 Thieves?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's all talk about our
And
personal
let's
hatred.
remember, by the way, that according to Reddit and Twitter and everyone, we were the OG 100T haters. Okay, so everybody coming in now, like, fucking, we were here before you. All right, on the 100T.
That's what I want to say is, like, why are you upset now? You know, like, you didn't see this coming even before they qualified for Worlds when you and I started this, Travis.
Yeah, we've been warning people, and nobody had listened. Now, admittedly, we also said Cloud9 wasn't going to get out of groups, but just ignore that part. We were right about the 100T.
I'm from NA. I can only analyze bad play.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if someone's good. I can only tell you if they're bad.
Yeah, exactly. We're experts in that. I don't know. What else has happened? Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
There's the specific quarterfinal matchups. There's the overall, like, group stage, not just like the teams that got out or didn't get out, but also, like, what do you think of the format, because they compressed it down from like two weeks, 4 days on, 3 days off, or whatever it was, into just 8 straight days.
Yep.
There's all that stuff to talk
We
about
didn't
too.
really talk about last time about the how the broadcast has been and if people like the way that's been all set up. So yeah, quite a few things to talk about on the show. Pretty excited about it. And I don't know. I mean, I guess we can just get into it. We should have a caller, by the way. If anybody wants to talk to Inero, I feel like him going to Golden Guardians should be a pretty spicy thing. I know it got announced in the middle of Worlds, but like, people love to flame Golden Guardians on this show. Now you got the guy who's been in charge of trying to revitalize this thing with Danon. So feel free to
come flame me.
Yeah, come in, flame him.
I love getting flamed.
Yeah, be like, listen, I've been watching. You're the coach of Golden Guardians. I watched all year. They sucked. Why didn't you fix that? It's like, well, sir, that was actually, he's new.
Well, he was on Echo Fox.
Yeah.
Hey, Inero, a lot of people are mad. You weren't on Echo Fox for any of the roster swaps, were you? Aside from the DeMonte Phoenix one?
I was there, like, still in my 2-week period, yeah. Like, that happened, like, on the last week of my 2-week period is when it all, like, officially happened, yeah.
Did you have a big say in that stuff happening, or were you just kind of there?
I mean, I get asked my opinion on it and whether I think things would be, like, improved or not, but it's not like I'm the guy's like, this is what we're doing, because at that point I was just doing, like, assistant coach role pretty much to kind of see everything out.
Okay, did you feel like Echo Fox's roster moves, on a scale of 100 Thieves roster moves, where did the Echo Fox ones land? Were they worse than it, better than it, substantially better, substantially worse?
I think the Echo Fox move was, like, a good one for long term, and I know that was their goal overall. Really, I didn't think it was obviously the way it happened, I guess, in creating drama. Yeah, it created a lot of drama for them just because of what happened with it. But I mean, at least they were changing to look to improve. Like, I could understand the change. Can't really say from the 100 Thieves side that putting in Ricard over Cody was doing this to improve for the long term, to be honest. But I don't know. Maybe Ricard is just stomping people in scrims, and then he was just way better. Obviously, don't know that, but it doesn't really look like it.
Yeah, let's wait for the call, because I've heard a little bit of rumors, but we can wait for. I'm sure somebody's going to call in about it. So, Mark, do you want to explain how the call stuff works?
Yeah, so I'm spamming Twitch chat right now with the Discord that you're going to want to join up at. When you get to the Discord, there's going to be subtopics and pleb topics, if you're a sub or not. You're going to post your topic in there. Make sure to join either pleb calls or sub calls, or pleb calls too, so that if I like your topic, I can actually pull you from that channel to the waiting room. Once you're in the waiting room, I'll come in when it's your turn, ask you to do a little mic check to make sure everything's working, and then assuming that's the case, we'll pull you into the on air to discuss your topic. Please make sure to keep the topics including your own personal opinion on it. So don't just say, I want to talk about NA at Worlds. I don't know what the fuck that means. Make sure to actually say what it is you want to talk about.
Yep.
Tony's on.
Tony's in chat.
Tony's in chat.
People are spamming TSM6. If you are a sub, by the way, you can sync your sub with Discord, and that gives you access to the sub chat channel. You can put your topic or your question or your thought in there, and that will give you a little bit of an advantage. Not a huge one, but a little bit of an advantage over some of the other folks. It's just sort of our way of thanking the subs, of which Mark gets no part of. We should be... Are you grabbing people now, Mark? Oh, he is.
Huh.
Oh,
Nice.
I saw
Laggy mic,
your
Travis.
mouth moving, so I was kind of confused. Mark,
What?
are you ready?
What?
Are you pulling
Hey,
people?
Travis like lagged out.
Hello?
Travis is just a fucking monkey.
Am I
All over the
lagging?
place. You're fine now.
You're fine now.
But you
Is
just
your brain
died.
lagging? I can't tell if it's the internet or your brain.
I looked at the screen and I saw your mouth moving in Skype, as if you were saying something, but I didn't see you saying anything.
I think your Discord connection's a little poopy.
Yeah, that's actually probably pretty true, because it's always orange here, because I think the server is really far away or something. So, anyway, do you want to start pulling people?
I am in the process of doing that. You want to fill for me?
Yes, I know exactly how to fill by reading off some of our lovely contributors to the show. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got here? What do we got? So, thank you to Sandman301 for Prime 2 months. Sipno, 500 bits. Intrepid90. SP6 Fire. Yowasa. War for You. Bunbeat. Jordan with the Twitch Prime for 10 months in a row. Rafa NA. Eldorel reset for 2 months. Rush Come Home Bible Thump reset for 11 months. Coming up on 12 months, Rush Come Home. And maybe he will if you hit 12 months. Cumboy 3000. Nathi for 2 months. And then Kyle0808 gets to 5 people, including Korlikai, LacunaCraft, Greg15153, NLP87, Zoli4. How are we looking, Mark? We got somebody?
We got some people.
Okay.
Sweet.
Feel free to grab whenever. Just Casual reset for 7 months. Chevrolet 50. Tough by Fong 24. Colors with a tier 1 sub. Vandy's Grants with a tier 1 sub. And then Volptex Vinny just gifted for 5 subs. The Lost Remedy, Nocthur, Sipno, Citrus, Odrail, White Tiger 379, Rob, and Nano Support. There we go. We're done. Sorry, VOD viewers. I know you're watching that and you're just like, Jesus.
That was so much.
I know. But we're all caught up. So now we get a break for a while. All right? And we needed to fill anyway. Because Neon is finally here. Neon, where are you calling from?
Nayun. I'm calling from Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right,
Oh,
Neon.
sweet.
What do
That's
you want
close.
to? What do you want to talk
My
about?
topic is why the hate that 100 Thieves is getting on the subreddit is unjustified, and why they were in the right by not saying anything at all in the Cody Sun situation.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
We're starting
We're
off the show
going
on a bang.
straight for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No matter what 100 Thieves says in any of their statements, they're gonna get backlash, and even if they expose Cody Sun, they'll be like the players won't trust them anymore because they're exposing a fellow player. So I think by not responding and not saying anything in the topic, they are doing the right thing.
Okay.
All right.
What if I told you they can say something without throwing a player under a bus?
But even if they say anything, what do you think the backlash is going to be? people in the suburbs gonna find anything to nitpick at and try to hate on 100 Thieves either way. They'll say anything to dismiss 100 Thieves.
Right,
That's
but I think
gonna happen.
that's going to happen. But I think the question is, you're about mitigating backlash, not removing. You're always going to get backlash anytime anything bad happens. But could they have mitigated it substantially, I think is the question.
I mean, yeah, that's hindsight now. Like, if they put a topic out, like, if they put a statement maybe a couple weeks back, they could have mitigated all of this just by saying, well, Cody's son, he just wasn't, we just weren't seeing eye to eye in certain situations. But you can't really say that now, can you? So I can just go with the flow and just not say anything and hope all this just blows over.
I think if you're going to commit to that, cool. If that's how you want to do it, and then you guys want to like change it up after, sweet. I think it got a bit unfortunate when there's a post on Reddit that says probably speaks about the silence surrounding the benching of Cody's son. There's no benefit to going public because it wouldn't change the outcome. It would only be airing dirty laundry. The problem with that is that implies if you're not going to say anything, then don't say anything.
I think it would have been better if you just said actually nothing at all.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
By him saying that, he just exposed that Cody's son was probably toxic. And he probably just messed up shit.
Right, exactly. So what I'm saying is if they want to do that, then they need to commit to that. Their whole staff needs to commit to that. And you don't say anything. You don't even say that you don't want to say nothing. You don't do that. Because that immediately says that when he's especially mentioning dirty laundry, okay, now there's something. Now the community's definitely going to go on that stuff and look for anything to get mad about. So if they want to commit to that, they should commit to that completely, and their staff needs to be behind it. As soon as someone slips up like this, which is usually why you make a statement, because someone's going to slip up and say something, like randomly that implies that something else is bad there, you need to be on point with that. And, I mean, I think they just messed up around it. Like, Nate Shot talked about it a bit, about how they need to get better with communication, stuff like that. But I think this thing that ended up on Reddit about Dave saying they don't want to say it because of dirty laundry is a bit XD considering everything that's happened around it right now. They might as well have just said something now. Like, it's pretty bad.
I think the best thing to do now is just wait, maybe just wait 1 week and then respond to all the hate. Because if they respond now, this is going to get more backlash.
If you wait 1 week, you just let it fester for a bit and then you reignite it.
I mean,
and it's going to start back up again.
I mean, a week later, like, look at the Echo Fox situation. Like, you saw all the hate they got when they first released Echo, Alltech, and Phoenix. But a couple weeks later, the haters mostly just died down. Maybe there's just like a couple people hating on Echo Fox now.
But that's only because nobody talks about Echo Fox anymore. They're not relevant. Like, and people will remember this whenever they go in next year. Like, the problem is the League community might have, like, you move really quickly from topic to topic, but this type of stuff can diminish a brand for long term. And so you have to work to re-earn the trust.
As an example, just because Reddit is not shitting on me right now doesn't mean I suddenly think EU fans like me.
Yeah.
There's just a new topic to rage about right now. So, like, I don't think that just because if they went full radio silence and people would then start talking about quarters when those started, it doesn't mean that there's not a huge negative backlash from the community.
I also still dispute the idea that, like, going completely radio silence is the only, like the idea that it's like, well, you either shit on Cody's son or you go complete radio silence. Like, I think there is something in between, right? Where Nate Shot comes out and he's like, look, we've struggled a lot as a team this year. We had to make difficult roster decisions because this is how life is and blah, blah, blah. Like, we found that working with Ricard just creates like a better situation for the team, and we're committed to trying to be successful. And you have to make these, like, you can say this stuff, but it is actually aggravating to people whenever I think that they just feel like the organization does not care. I think the organization does care, but the problem is they need to show it by actually having, like, the conversation. That's my take.
Okay. So you go ahead, Travis.
No, that was me, but you go first because I'm gonna tangent a little bit.
I think that it should be okay for an org to have their PR move is to not say anything. I think that's totally acceptable, and if they want to do that, they can do it. Obviously, there's going to be some, like, pros and cons that come to that, which they have to accept will happen in the long term. The only problem with it is that if you do that, because orgs have done that in the past, you have to make sure that everyone on your staff is on board, that topic does not get discussed. In no way publicly, you can't discuss it in any way. You can't make any comment on it. Your comment just has to basically be that you're not answering those types of questions. Obviously, it's already slipped up, whether, like, they addressed it publicly, like, with their owner doing it, Probably has just addressed it in an interview that is now on Reddit. That type of stuff can't happen. Otherwise, it just kind of exacerbates the issue and it keeps it snowballing. Like you mentioned with the Echobox stuff that got stopped talking about, like that is their PR approach. So, they're approaching it the way they did. No one's talking about it in the org, and that's okay for them to do if that's how they want to approach it and just handle those things internally with their players. Only unfortunate part here is that 100 Thieves seems to have that same approach, and then it backfires because people are talking about it that are related to the organization. So it keeps it going.
Yeah, but
constantly. This happens in anything this happens in, like in any other like news or sport or anything. People generally just don't talk about this stuff, so it dies out. Because if you keep bringing it up, it's going to keep going.
Do you think the hate would have been as much as if they just took one game off Fnatic or IG?
No, I don't think it would have been as bad.
If Rikara looked good, they probably wouldn't have had much.
Before we tangent, can I say a couple things? One, like I know we're talking about it now that probably has this interview, which came out like yesterday, but all this stuff existed before Probably said anything. So I actually think him saying something like it doesn't really matter. Maybe it ignites a little bit more, but like I actually think there's a huge problem here before Probably says anything. I disagree with the idea of saying nothing. There's a couple of people who said, "Oh, didn't Probably literally say that in an interview?" In terms of like talking about Rikara more. I think part of the problem is that we're talking about one issue within the 100T communication conversation, which is the Rikara Cody Sun thing. But I actually think that is there's a much broader issue here, right? Which is that they basically had radio silence about everything before Worlds. They put out one episode of the heist, which was like, yeah, people think we're gonna lose, but maybe we're gonna try. But they like didn't have any rallying cry. There wasn't anybody out there like holding up the banner. Probably does say that stuff in an interview, but Probably always says it in kind of like an uncomfortable way. You can tell he's not comfortable being the person to speak about it. I don't know if that's because people are telling him not to talk about it or if he feels like it's beyond him. And then GGL Zento in chat said, sad that even personalities don't understand the nuance of keeping radio silence. There's no nuance in radio silence. It's the opposite. It is like a brute force tactic, which is just say nothing. Nuance comes into play whenever you are actually trying to tell like a narrative. You're trying to explain the stuff and have a conversation without like throwing somebody under the bus. That's where nuance is implied, and it's hard and it's difficult, but your fans will appreciate it more, and you'll set yourself up for success long term in a better way.
I think it's more fair to say that like we can disagree with the approach they took for it with their like PR approach, but I definitely think it's like a viable strategy for people just not to comment on things completely. Like for my personal opinion, I think it's like,
I guess
if teams want to do that, there are just negative things that come with that, and if that's what they're choosing, they have to go in understanding that, and that's just what it is. Like sometimes there's benefits to people just doing stuff like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
One thing I'll forget very fast. People will definitely forget super fast if it's not brought up by anyone.
One thing I'll say to give Nayan his credit is I think this is completely Nayan. God damn it, I'll get it. Twice. Nayan.
I just really appreciate Nayan is really he's like, get my fucking name right.
I swear, just beat it over my head every time it's wrong. Right. I think it is completely overblown though. Like we can debate, whether or not this was the right approach that they did wrong, or if it was the wrong approach at its core. Like those are the two sides I see out of Travis and Inero. But like no matter what, I think it's fair to say that this is like a massive overreaction. When people are like, you see comments in there that are that pretty heavily upvoted that are like, this is the downside of the franchising system is that we're stuck with 100 Thieves and shit. And it's like, bro, they're way better than a lot of orgs are. Even if they don't handle their PR as well as you want, like they're still better than a lot of orgs. And like, I think that's where Nadeshot's rant that he did yesterday was attempting, what he was attempting to say, and it came across really bad because everyone just heard him talking about merch and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, I agree with the point that it's like, maybe their PR is bad and you don't like their roster moves because they didn't explain it well to the community or justify it well, so it just looks like constant downgrades. I assume they're not all idiots and that they have a reason for this. They just haven't explained it well. And then like you just see how much more successful they were than any of the other new orgs or a lot of existing orgs in their first year. They're a better org than most orgs in NA.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, minus this PR thing. I think I totally get where people are coming from with this PR sucks and you want more clarity. Fair enough. You want more passion out of them. Also, fair enough. It doesn't feel like you don't feel the passion out of them. But like as an actual org, they're better.
I really think that the reason that people in esports feel more annoyed with it, and especially like people that are closer to it, is because this as an industry right now is still like so young that the players and everything themselves are so much closer to the community than anything in traditional sports are. So it's really easy for traditional sports orgs to just like have a no comment approach towards it and just be completely like radio silent on it. And it's just kind of like normal. And in esports, everything's been so open about stuff that people kind of expect it, even though it wouldn't shock me if teams and organizations start moving more towards that approach as things get bigger.
I just think they won't be able to, because I think the audience has such an expectation of transparency. I hinted at this on the video yesterday, that like you can make unpopular decisions, but if you make no attempt to have a conversation about them, that's where people get most frustrated. I agree, by the way, with Mark, by the way, that anybody saying like 100T shouldn't be part of the franchising system is pretty dumb. But I do think fans should be really frustrated, because it just felt sending 100T felt so bad it felt so bad sending 100T to Worlds, not because they were bad, but because they just I get that maybe he couldn't be here, but it would have been nice to have Nate Shot, like in a world where I think they should have read the room, right? The room was, there's no hype about your team, people don't believe in you, they don't think you should go, and you should try to do something about that. And when you, instead of doing something about it, you just stack on like no conversation about the Cody Sun Rikara thing, no like presence from the leadership team at the event. I don't know. It's rough, and I hope they see this as an issue.
I can see where they're coming from, maybe where they're like, everyone already hates us, and if we try and hype ourselves, it'll just like, I don't know, annoy people. But like, I still think, to your point, like I don't think that's the right way to do it, because your fans will still appreciate like you hyping yourselves and like the chip on your shoulder underdog mentality, like, man, fuck all these guys, kind of thing.
I mean, I can understand fans being upset.
We need to wrap
overall,
this.
Overall, we're kind of spoiled, to be honest.
But I don't know, Mark, did you have something you wanted to say?
One more thing. Everyone's like, they didn't even give Cody Sun a game. Do you even fucking know if Cody wanted to play? You people who are raging at them for that. Do you even know if Cody was like, hey guys, after we get knocked out, put me in for a game so I can have my shine? Like, do you know he wanted that? It's so frustrating to hear people freaking out about that. And it's like, you don't even know if Cody wanted to play.
Yeah. Hard agree. Hard agree, by the way. Because I like the things that I've heard, one of the rumors was like Cody Sun was just like not in a good mental place here. Again, a rumor, speculation, but like let's just think about a world where that might be true. Like the idea that they should have shoved him in if that wasn't the case, or like he didn't feel comfortable going. I don't know. It's stupid. Inero,
it's one of the weirdest parts to complain about. Like if you're mad that they're playing Rikara over Cody because Cody's a better player, as all evidence indicates, that makes sense. If you're mad that they didn't put him in for a game after they're already eliminated, it's like, you don't know what the fucking social dynamic of that team is. You have no clue.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
For sure. And, like, even though I wouldn't necessarily agree with what I'm about to say, like, imagine if they put Cody in and, like, from the org side, they win with Cody and they didn't win with Rikara. Imagine, like, the backlash they're going to get from the community on that, too. Like, wow, look, you could have won if you used this. So, like, even though, like, I don't know. I don't like that approach either. It's just definitely something that I could see an organization thinking about when they're looking at the decisions there. So
people in chat saying, of course, who doesn't go to Worlds and doesn't want to play? Maybe somebody who's like upset or frustrated, or like it's just like not a good situation. Like
maybe someone who just got benched.
There are worlds where he like, it's crazy to me that people think they know the mind of Cody Sun and everything that happens on the team. Things are complex.
And I also think that they perform to expectations. Like, there is no way that even with Cody Sun, they're going to beat Fnatic or IG. And Fnatic and RG, they're both looking like a top 4 team. Even with Cody Sun, they would still gone 2-4.
Yeah,
I agree.
Exact same situation happened. If you put him in for a G-Rex game, he wins the G-Rex game. You put him in for another game, they lose. Like, This is exactly the team we thought they were. This is why Travis and I were poo-pooing them a month and a half ago. Because this is what you should have thought was going to happen. You should have been excited if anything else happened.
Nyan.
And one last thing.
Give your
Aren't
last
the
thing because we
100
gotta go.
Thieves, okay. Just shout out to Mark for Offline TV. The videos lately have been really, really good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Nyan. Appreciate it.
Hey, good call.
Yeah, that was good. And by the way, people always say there's this weird mentality that's popped up in Twitch chat where somebody says something on the show that they disagree with. Everybody's like, "Just why would you get this caller on?" This show's really boring if everyone just agrees. I can tell you that.
That was one of the best calls we've had in weeks. We all had different takes. It was a complicated issue. There's different topics going around. I loved it.
Yeah, I like when it's stuff we can have different opinions on rather than just, yeah, you're right. All right, next caller.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We did get some more subs. White Tiger 397 Rob, Nano Support, Brave Sam, Ryan DB, Vol JP for 2 months, Baby Kangaroos resub for 2 months, Hobbs 2 resub for 2 months and says, "Can you tell Mark Z to check his bank account?" Not sure what that means. Lagoonist resub for 9 months, and Salim resub for 11 months. We're coming in on 1 year, Salim. How exciting! By the way, somebody was a tier 2 sub. I think it was Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, sorry, Dr. Manhattan. I missed your tier 2 sub. Today's my birthday. Can I get a happy birthday in the chat? Dr. Manhattan would like a happy birthday in the chat, everybody, if you can make that happen. Zach is on the show. Zach, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from New Orleans, man. What's up?
What's up, man?
What's up?
How's it
Not
going?
much.
I can tell you're gonna be it's gonna be a much more chill call.
Yeah. So basically, I think that like playing other games rather than League, even at like major tournaments, is still pretty beneficial for the people playing. Basically, so you don't get burned out. I mean, like I'm a petroleum engineer, so like I design products for like drilling way down underground, and like whenever I'm designing for like say if I put in like a 15-hour day, it's like I get super hard mental block and just can't really work as efficiently as normal, as opposed to like spreading it out and taking a dose at a time. I mean, I understand that these players are like, that's their job to play. So I mean, if they treat it like a job, I think it's fine if they play other games just to like get their mind off of League for a little bit, get a little R&R so they can perform at their best.
Yep, I agree with you. I think people are
man.
insane for wanting players to do so much more. Like they think that basically it should just be like forced labor. Like we have to sit here and play the game for 24 hours the entire day, and that's going to make us better. That is such a bullshit approach. And it's so ignorant to think that that's what's like holding NA or like other regions back just because Koreans do it, just because that culture and that's how they approach it and that's what they've like grown up doing. Like suddenly that's meant to be the best thing. I think that is just so wrong. Traditional sports doesn't do that at all. The practice is just actually efficient. The problem with regions that are struggling is that their practice isn't very efficient. Sure, grinding can help some players. Some people that are able to do that, but it is not everyone. You definitely need to be able to do some other stuff or your mental is screwed. You're too focused on the game all the time. You have no way to ever de-stress, and stress ruins you as a player. That's the whole reason people choke when they're on stage, because they get too stressed. It's actually insane that people think.
But Inero and Zach, they're just playing a video game. It's not real work, right? Zach, like you're a petroleum engineer. That's a real thing. Like these guys just get to sit around and play video games. That's not real. That's what I've heard on Reddit and Twitter and stuff, at least.
Most of them get paid more than me, so I'm sure it is pretty fucking real.
Yeah, they get paid more than you to just play video games, Zach. Like, why
sit
are
on
they
their
complaining?
butt all day.
Yeah.
Like another thing is like for the NCAA, like in college football, every team is only allowed 20 hours a week with their team to practice. So, I mean, it really just matters how well you grasp the game. Because I don't think like grinding, even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing, just grinding isn't going to make you better.
NCAA doesn't pay people.
Oh, I mean that's.
So let's avoid that comparison. But
I'm not talking about pay, but like just hours put in. I don't think directly correlates with how well you're going to do.
Yeah, I think. I would like to hear Nero's take on what Sven said, because Sven was talking about that. He had a clip from his stream, and he said, like, he would fucking rage if one of his teammates was playing WoW instead of solo queue at Worlds.
Yeah, if his teammate's like not performing well and he's like obviously doing this, then sure. But if the guy's like up literally all night playing League and you're gonna get mad at him for like taking an hour or something to like play another game, and I think that's a bit of a joke. Like I'm pretty sure all players would be definitely be happy with their teammates if they're performing super well while also taking like break time to play other games. It's just right now, a lot of people have the mindset that, oh, if you're not practicing all the time, you're going to be playing worse. But it's very possible for people to not play the game very much at all. Just play for the practice and have good practice and improve. It's just right now, like, our esport is not very good at that because our practice is just terrible. And it's just everyone assuming that, okay, yeah, these people that play more are going to be better. And it's weird confirmation bias, which is really, really stupid, I think. Like, how, I guess for the caller, how would you how much would you assume that like a basketball team practices like as a team in one day?
Probably like 4 hours of like drilling, a couple hours of like strength conditioning training. So
Yeah,
probably like running around as a team, like practicing like certain plays and whatnot.
and that's high.
All 4 hours, yeah.
And that's like over like what they actually do in terms of like actual team practice and not
Oh,
individual
really?
practice. Yeah. They don't practice that much. They have very specific practice. Obviously some of this comes down to the fact that they can do drills, which we can't do in League, which is going to extend our practice time by, like a certain amount. Um, it's just actual focus practice. It's very efficient and it has like a target that they're actually looking for. And then obviously you have your individual practice of looking to do stuff like in the gym, which would count as like us doing solo queue, like it keeps your condition up and all of that. Um, there is stuff like that that is very important that people should be considering in esports, but right now don't, because teams don't want to commit too much to that and have it fail, and instead just keep doing what's working.
So to play the devil's advocate, let's say, in favor of the Korean ecosystem, I would say
Yeah.
one bad showing of a year doesn't invalidate their approach, which has dominated, absolutely dominated esports.
For sure. I'm not saying
Uh,
it invalidates it either at all.
yeah, I think like you don't have to take the Korean approach. I don't think you have to, but I also wouldn't argue against all the evidence of them always winning almost everything that they seriously set their like infrastructure behind. Like Street
Yep.
Fighter 4, they don't have like the full blown Korean infrastructure behind it, but StarCraft and LoL and to some extent Overwatch, where almost all the top teams are built out of Korean players and like their approach, like just because Genji sucked and C9 didn't doesn't change the fact that they're historically always the best team, and they do it and they get the results very heavily from the fact that they put in more hours than anyone else.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have other advantages too, like server population and low ping and all that stuff.
And like I can completely agree with that, like being a thing, for sure. Like Korea has had so much success in esports titles, for sure. And I do think the fact that their culture is very much like building this type of mentality and this type of work ethic in them from such a young age is super important for them to be able to like keep that up and not completely destroy their mentality while they're doing it. To be very honest, that in America that is not a work ethic that we were brought up with at all. That is not the type of mentality people have. So being thrown into that randomly, especially when we don't have like a system starting from a young age to actually build up into competitive league, that people can sustain that for any length of a period of time. Like people burn out too fast in comparison to how they're going to burn out when they're playing in Korea because they've grown up with it, right? At least that's how like I view it. And that's something we should be like very honest with ourselves about. And I don't know. I've still just thought like over time that the practice environment has felt very unfocused from anything I've seen.
I mean,
And
that's
that's like the biggest problem overall. Like we could probably practice how much we do right now and just actually, have it be good, efficient practice and still be fine and not be burning players out.
Hey,
But I don't know. But
I don't like to.
I was gonna say, anyways, the
Go ahead.
topic is like just on playing other games. Definitely think you should be able to just play other
Yeah,
games
for
a certain
sure.
period of time. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is just too much. Players play so much right now, man.
I
I know I went on a tangent with it. So
No, it's good. I don't like to call attention to negative comments on Twitch chat, but this one I really like. Intero is a clown. Basketball doesn't get an update every 2 weeks changing the meta, you bozo. From Sexy Mo.
of course not. The fundamentals of League and how you actually play like the map in the game also doesn't get like that huge of an update all the time. It usually gets a big of an update like at the end of the year during the big like preseason change. Overall, like the fundamentals of it are all the exact fucking same. Like I've been having to talk about the same type of lane swap shit the exact same way for the past like 5 years. Having to talk about swapping out of your lane at like a certain time, talking about like how to rotate from mid lane to bot lane. All that shit's the fucking same. It's been the same forever. Like, the only thing that's really changing is matchups, and you're getting that from solo queue, and you learn that pretty quick. Otherwise, people wouldn't be pulling it out on stage. So yeah, no shit that it actually ends up being a thing where people are able to practice like consistent fundamentals over time and don't need to put all this extra time in when they could just go in, practice their academy mid laner or something, or just practice in their actual scrims, playing certain matchups with new champions that have changed.
Yeah.
It's really not as much as people think. The game doesn't change that much.
Yeah, that kid's probably just trash. Still taking TP on Ezreal bot. Honestly.
Also, not like I like to be Travis Gafford and talk about our like previous content, but back in 2015, I did an interview with him that reached the front page of the subreddit, talking about how practice in League of Legends is probably the most inefficient practice I've ever seen anywhere in anything. And I can't think of a worse way to practice than how people practice League of Legends. Like, imagine if...
Sorry, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, like, imagine if you were like, I'm going to learn guitar, and the only way you could learn guitar is by playing songs all the way 100% through. It's like, I'm only bad at this one part of the song, like the solo. I really just need to practice the solo of this, like, you know, complicated song. Well, play the entire song all the way through just to get to the solo, and then maybe you can practice it. But, like, sometimes, you know, you don't even get there.
Yeah. That missing from League really sucks.
Yeah,
like, that actually
really
is one thing that makes practice take a lot longer than it should, which definitely limits things. Because you can go in wanting to practice a certain thing later on in the game, and you may just not be able to get to it. Like, you may just get to a point where, like, you don't actually get to that point in the game at a good, stable level. And that sucks, but, like, that's just kind of where we're at.
Sorry, Zach, you were
why
going to say
can't
something?
Riot just make, like... I was going to say, like, why doesn't Riot just, like, take the initiative and just make, like, you know, the practice mode just full of lobby, you know?
They probably don't want an advantage for pro players over solo queue players, which I think is kind of just BS, but...
I think it's also just,
pretty
like...
sure that's what they want.
Dev time is... Like, to make that mode... From everything we've heard about the development of League of Legends, it's not one of these games built with a great engine that's, like, really malleable and you can, like, add and remove and tweak things very easily. It sounds pretty tough to work with. And so to make this mode where, like, you could take practice tool, make it even more powerful, and then make it so 10 people can load into practice tool, sounds like it's just a huge burden on them to, like, satisfy their pro player base, which is, like, for the most part, still pretty fun to watch. You know, like, I think from their perspective, the upside versus cost is probably not quite right there.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, by the way, with, like, slowing down efficiency, it still doesn't change the fact that, like, Korea has the same stuff we do, and they still beat us.
Exactly.
China does the same and still beat us. So, like, that isn't why, like, we're losing, but that definitely, like, slows down actually making, like, the practice more efficient and just is more of a buff to people grinding longer times, for sure.
Danon says, yeah, but the guitar
laughing at
cards
that.
don't change every 2 weeks.
No, but you have to say in the SpongeBob voice.
How do you...
You know, you stick your hands in your hair, like, yeah, but the guitar chords don't... That voice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Maximus Payne had like a comment like asking if coaches figure out a way to create drills or simulations. Not in practice tool, but yeah, in scrims for certain types of things, but it's usually early game focus.
Yeah.
You really can't do much outside of early game focus unless, you know, you have an academy team willing to just waste like 20 minutes of their time to get to win Barons up and have a certain gold lead, but that's pretty unrealistic and still waste 20 minutes of time.
We're an hour in, we've only done 2 calls. So, Zach, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say at the end here?
Yeah, fuck a freak, C9's winning worlds. Peace.
Whoa!
It's lit.
Okay. that's
I can respect it.
He was so chill in the
Let's
beginning.
go.
He's like, hey man, how's it going from New Orleans? And at the end, he's like, yo.
Saving the energy, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Are we
right.
doing a mystery sponsor? Or are we
Oh, yes.
plugging away?
I would be remiss to think about skipping or forgetting our mystery sponsor. That's right. The show is sponsored by a mystery sponsor. I'm excited to tell you guys all about them in the near future. Let me see if I can get the hashtag up. Hang on, where are we? Hang on, where? Here it's there we go. It's in. Okay. We'll just put it over in Arrow's face. Excited to tell you all about the mystery sponsor, and let me go ahead and do that now because I know you guys have been waiting. You've been wondering. who it is. I'm going to tell you guys. They're a company. They're a company that exists in this current version of our universe, and they've existed for some time. They've
existed in past universes.
Yeah, in adjacent universes, in parallel realities, but specifically
in future universes as well.
Specifically in this one, they do exist, and they're fantastic. I mean, the things that they do in this world are incredible. We really appreciate their support. Mark, I mean, you appreciate their support, right?
Yeah, if they didn't support this show, I don't think I would support this show. It's their support that inspires my support of this show.
And you know what, guys? I think you appreciate the mystery sponsor too. I mean, I would guess you all love their products, and I see that in Twitch chat right now. It's still not Tidy Cats. It's never going to be Tidy Cats, people. So either way, I just want to say, Twitch chat says, "Are we the mystery sponsor?" It is not you, unfortunately. I will give you that hint. You are not the mystery sponsor, but it's exciting for you to find out who it is. It's not Fortnite either.
Nick, when you were feeling it, could you tell what it was when you're feeling it?
I was trying to feel it out.
Yeah.
Unable to feel anything, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well,
it's a bummer.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but once you find out, it's gonna be pumped. So again, thank you so much to Hotline League's mystery sponsor. Mark's gonna move on to the next caller.
Can you just announce it?
Sponsored by 100T Merch. No, not that. We like products that are available.
Is it a Teo?
It's not a Teo. I'm not playing this game.
Okay.
By the way, that weird dude earlier, that weird dude 25 specifically, not weird dude 1 through 24, but 25, gifted 10 subs in the chat to bring up their total to 15. No Pone, Dark Vortexes, Nagoli 101, Sevas, Jackpot 7707, Krenith, Babom Bob, Crazy Iron, and Dr. Ryan 88, as well as VZTS3V. Thank you, that weird dude 25. Your gifts are appreciated. Dragon Mancers is returning to the show. You've been here before, right, Dragon Mancers?
Yeah, I have. It's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like it has been. Remind me where you're from.
I'm from Dallas.
Dallas, Texas. All right. And what do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I want to talk about how the desk brought up that NA needs to find their own strengths because China has a larger player base and Korea has past infrastructure that they've set up for esports. Now those are like super big advantages that NA needs to overcome through their own weird strengths, and how that shouldn't result in these huge discrepancies with our international performance.
Dragon Masters, do you remember who said that point?
Not really, honestly.
I don't know who stole it, but that's my goddamn point.
Oof.
I don't know.
I remember Chad talking about it, but I don't remember who brought it up.
It's probably Jat stealing my points. That's what he does.
That's what I hear. I hear Jat steals. I hear this consistently, that Jat takes other people's stuff and makes it his own.
All right. In case it was actually at least the people bandwagon on Jat, I don't think he actually does that.
But Jat's stats are those his stats, or do they come from the stat team?
No, those are his stats. Sometimes the stats team helps him, but a lot of them he finds himself.
Is his real name even Jat, or did he take that too?
His name's Josh, technically.
Well, see, there you go. Anyway, this seems like such a Inero and Mark thing, so I'm excited to hear what they have to say.
Well, so like I remember, I think Inero was on the call when I had my whole rant about it, where I was like, instead of saying, "Oh man, NA lost, why'd we lose?" be like, "Why would you expect NA to win?" That was like the whole thing, and I had that whole rant on Hotline League I think 2 months ago about it. And now they're using it on the analyst desk without me knowing. Stole my rant.
Yeah. We've been signing a lot to regular sports pretty frequently this episode. I just want to bring it back to that again for this point because basically football, soccer is one of the most universal sports throughout the world, and yet we see smaller countries all the time competing heavily in international tournaments despite maybe both of those disadvantages existing in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's good players everywhere. You always have enough good players where you live, most likely. It's just how good practice is and how many of those good players are playing together. I think the
Yeah,
fact that NA can't produce a team that can be competitive at Worlds is kind of like a BS approach, and it's like a cop out for people to, you know, just avoid the reality of what's actually the problem. Like, there's good players here, man. Licorice popped up, rookie doing insanely well. Dardock's insanely good, an A player as well. Like, I don't know, man. It feels like it's really easy to have a pretty sick team if it gets put together. Pretty easy to have a team that would probably compete internationally. I don't know. I think it's definitely possible. It's just other issues holding us back.
Uh, do you think Team Liquid should have performed better?
I think Team Liquid performed about where they should be. Like I said in that interview that it was like definitely possible for them to get out, and I mean they were right on the edge of getting out. I didn't expect too much from them. Even if they got out of groups, they're gonna like die off after that. I think like individual talent wise, I don't feel like their team is necessarily stacked. Like their laning isn't amazing. Their bot lane is really good. The team play is but can't really fault them too much when the system they're learning from in NA. Like a lot of teams have a lot of the same issues. I think they performed about where they should, and I'm not really like too disappointed in them as much as I am like the region as a whole.
Mm-hmm. To get back to Dragonmancer's point, it's not the idea that NA can't compete. It's just the idea that like the odds are against us. I think it is appropriate to think of ourselves as underdogs, and how you overcome that is the question. The point about like soccer, football, um, those smaller countries that compete. I actually don't know FIFA that well. Do they actually get nearly as far as like the European countries and huge Latin American countries that actually like love it? I actually don't know.
I was more thinking of European countries versus sort of like the US's Latin American countries because there is pretty big uh, population differences between, say, the smaller European countries and uh, Latin American countries.
Right. I think this is me talking out my ass because I actually don't know that scene that well, but from what I know, the biggest leagues in the entire world are in Europe, right? So they probably have the best infrastructure in Europe.
Yeah, that's what was more pointing towards the player base issue because the pro scene is such a small section of the entire player base that you're going to have strong enough individual players to fit into that. You just have to find them.
Yeah, I think it's the idea though that like how important is infrastructure in Europe? You basically grow up playing one sport. You grow
Yeah.
up playing soccer, and you have club level, and there's all this stuff to push you forward. And like every child who is athletic probably has played soccer at some point, and if they're good, they get funneled up, and people are scouting from like moment one. Who's that fucking kid? Even like Freddie Adu, right? Like wasn't he like 15 or 16 like when he started like going for the U.S. Olympic team or something? Like in pro sports, there's so much put into trying to find and develop talent, that's how I believe you see these kind of probably population issues over like conquered is because it's so good at finding and identifying talent and getting them up there. In
Yeah.
NA, for League of Legends, if there's a good solo queue player, like how do we really cultivate that guy? Maybe now with scouting grounds, it's starting to happen with Academy, but like before that, it wasn't very much.
Yeah, like Europe
That's-
has had like national leagues and stuff for a good while. I think that's been like super beneficial for them as a whole. And the fact that they had Turkey as like a close wild card region, and then the Russian league as well. I think that type of stuff is really good overall because it gives young players a place to compete early on when they're not necessarily good enough for like what is now academy and LCS level. And we're slowly getting there in NA, but happens.
Hey, thank you so much for the call, Dragomancers.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, have a good one. Moving on to the next caller. Mark is off. Blue Jay 1344 for 8 months. Steve Hill 2 months. Here for my turkey and grapes. they say. Inero, I guess you'll be serving those up.
God.
Denny Nukes.
Oh, I love me some turkey and grapes.
Denny Nukes he's up for 6 months. Ribbon Shoe 6 months. Ixalade, Kara Vampire, Dirty White Spoon, Staston, Turtle Osp, Surge 2009 gifted a sub to Reconsider. It's cool of them. Westy and West Oboe. Penitent Tangent is in the call. Penitent Tangent, where are you calling from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
And are you currently playing Batman Arkham Asylum? Game of the Year edition.
It's open on my PC, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you were... But you're not playing it, because we need you here.
No, I'm not.
Okay. What do you want to talk about in the show tonight?
I wanted to talk about the seeding and formatting of worlds, because I think that Riot has stuck to this rule that the same region can't play each other. Same region teams can't play each other in groups, and I legitimately feel like that ruins the chances of multiple regions getting out of groups successfully. And I think it also really limits the story that could be built throughout the World Championship. You know, some teams, like, let's say, you know, C9 lost to Liquid in the finals, but if they beat Team Liquid to get out of groups this year, people would be freaking their shit out. You know, so I think that the group seeding is very limited because of this rule, and I feel like it should be changed.
So you want like regions to possibly end up in the same group from like the same region?
I think it should be allowed, yeah, because like the worst case scenario is that every group is like group A is all the Korean teams and then a wild card and then ad infinitum. But like I feel like that's really unlikely, and at the very least you could reseed it if that happens. If
Yeah, even having like two in the same group can be like problematic because like they already are meant to be getting seeded. Like I think the main problem might be that the point system, but the second seed that may not be like an actual second seed into the whole equation. But you don't want two regions having people in the same group, and then like, the teams
Am
that
I
aren't necessarily
roboting?
better than those two in another group.
Am I
advance,
roboting or is
and then you
Inero
didn't send the
roboting?
best.
You're roboting.
Okay, I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect.
Unlucky. Okay.
Are we
Travis?
robots, Travis?
No, that fixed it. Okay, sorry. Continue, Inero.
All right, cool. So like, I really think that having two people in the same group that are from the same region, just kind of randomly like that, really opens you up to the issue of you're not sending the best teams forward to the whole like bracket phase. Instead, you're possibly sending a team that's not better than another team in another bracket randomly. That team just got screwed out because they were in the same group as other people from their region, even though they might actually be better. I think that's pretty bad, and that's a definite outcome that can happen. Would definitely rather avoid that from ever happening.
Yeah, I think I am willing to entertain the idea that the groups of worlds could easily be improved.
Okay, I have to leave again and rejoin. Discord needs servers in Korea. I'm wondering... Oh, we're still stuck at authenticating. Hello? Oh, there's no route. We're stuck. We're going through connecting. Oh! I'm back. Oh. Still roboting. Discord doesn't have any... Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. Discord's choking.
Extreme upload too high.
I'm gonna restart Discord, everybody. I'm gonna restart.
Travis.
Yeah. Mark!
We can use Skype audio and ignore the caller, unfortunate for him. But like, if we want to have the conversation.
Okay, I unmuted Skype. Can you guys unmute it? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and finish the conversation. Hopefully it fixes in the meantime.
You sound fucking terrible on Skype, dude.
Oh, it's not using
You're
my
so
microphone.
loud.
Sorry, hang on.
Oh, Travis. It's
Also,
nuts.
Inero, you need to mute on Discord.
On Discord? Alright, well, I will see you later, caller.
Is this
Thanks for
better?
being back. Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Is this good now?
Yeah,
I
you're
can hear
you're
you.
better.
Okay. All right.
Alright.
Continue on, Mark.
So what I was saying was I'm willing to agree with the caller that there's probably some improvements to make to the world's group stage. I just don't agree with the approach that he took. I really don't think you want to stick multiple teams in a group if you have 4 groups. Now, if you change the amount of groups you have and that ends up, like if you have 2 groups, I'd be more okay with it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think the approach that he wants to change it up is bad, but overall, like, I feel like the main problem is the point system. The point system is pretty bad to send someone to Worlds.
Travis, you're
I fixed it.
okay. No, you
That
didn't.
was
I
not so
did.
bad.
No,
did.
we are echoing through your heads.
Ah.
Oh wait, no, wait. Who's it coming from?
It's not from
Holy
me because
crap.
I hear it.
Okay, it's not from you. It's from Travis.
Oh.
Travis.
It's coming
It's
from
coming on
Discord.
Discord. Yeah, it's literally just Discord.
I
Travis, just leave Discord.
reconnected to Discord. I'm back. Okay, everybody, let's go back to Discord.
We're back in here now. Oh man, this production value is nuts.
Hey guys, I just want you to know that like the reason that this show's so bad is because we're trying to keep it authentic to esports.
The reason the
Maybe
show's so
if-
bad is because I'm in a hotel room in Korea, and Discord evidently doesn't have great connections in Korea.
No, it's because we're dedicated to the authentic esports experience.
This will be the last
Do you have any
episode from Korea.
exploding?
So.
Do you have any exploding hand warmers we can use too?
Yeah, I'll try to. Okay, sorry. Bring it back on topic. You don't like the
Right.
format change that Penitent Tangent is proposing. I think it's amazing because I love the idea of sticking a wild card in with 3 Korean teams. That sounds like a fucking hilarious
Yeah.
group.
That sounds lit.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, oh.
Since someone like kind of took my take on the points thing in like a weird tangent that is like completely off, saying that like Vitality shouldn't have gone to Worlds then, or that's what I think. I think the points thing should be changed, so it's guaranteed that our second seed is like the second best team in NA, or maybe like the point system puts you actually at the end of Gauntlet or whatever, and whoever the top 2 teams are going, I don't know. So something different, some different type of system. I think the points thing is a bit of a yikes.
Yeah, I think it's it definitely needs some looking at. It can give you advantages, but it does feel a little bad. I think like if you didn't have the point system, then you have Griffin and KT, and then whoever wins the gauntlet, which might still be Genji, which would suck, but like whatever. And then like you wouldn't have 100 Thieves, you would have had C9 as the second seed, which I think we have a caller talking about this later. The value of play-ins, but we'll skip that for now. It might actually be better for C9 that they didn't get the second seed here.
Penitent Tangent,
then
do
you
you
get-
have Penitent Tangent, do you have anything that you would add or say?
I mean, I know you're probably running short on time. I did want to talk about like how best of ones also suck, but you know that's not even a hot debate. Everyone
The
hates it,
classic.
but so. But yeah, so I don't want to hold you guys up too long. So
Okay.
Oh, good.
Sorry, guys, about the camera thing. Don't know why that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Penitent
Okay.
Tangent.
yeah, thanks for having me.
I guess while we like
we're
move to
back.
the next one, I think what would probably be cool with the points thing is they seed you into the gauntlet as like if you have the highest amount of points, you're the number 1 team in the gauntlet, and it guarantees that you go to Worlds if you're number 1 on points. But it's not guaranteed your second seed. Whoever gets to the top of the gauntlet plays you in a best of 5, and the winner goes to second seed. Loser goes to the third seed. That'd probably be pretty good. So then at least you're like forced to go through play-ins.
Oh yeah,
rather
that'd be
than
cool.
a team that went through gauntlet that could possibly be better.
That'd be cool.
Because I think usually the teams that end up going through gauntlet and winning are usually like the better team.
Yeah.
and that's why they go through play-ins and they tend to just do better overall than the second seeds teams. And the
KRC
first
25
teams.
is here. KRC, I think you've been here before.
Yeah, they did pretty good.
Yes, I was here 2 weeks ago. I called in about Fnatic and their matches against IG in that group.
Yeah, what did you say? Remind me.
So I was the one who said that Fnatic was going to get through that group really easily because I thought that Fnatic's lanes were all superior to anything that IG could put up. Call back to say that I think I was not entirely 100% right. I mean,
They
don't
didn't
think
get through
anybody's
easily, I
100%.
feel like.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't. I watched all the games. And I didn't think that. I mean, they definitely underperformed the first game against IG. That wasn't one of the games I loved watching. But Broxa played absolutely out of his mind in the group stage. Like Caps didn't do so well against Rookie like I thought he was going to. I don't think any of you guys were too surprised by that one. But
No,
I know one of the hot topics for like that debate was top lane, and I felt like Bopo and Soaz actually did really well against the Shy and Duke. But yeah, that's just calling back to talk about that.
I
So
think
just calling back
in
for the
the
brag,
group stage-
the victory lap.
I think
I
I
thought
think
you
in the
had
group
something.
stage the jungle was I didn't think Broxa played like a
That and-
Smurf. Like everyone was hyping him up. I think his only competition was Ning, and Ning sucked. Not to say Broxa was bad, but Ning was awful. Like,
I
mean-
like an insane mid laner playing with. Like he looked like real
think-
bad.
I think the biggest difference between Fnatic's win and Fnatic's losses was Jackie Love. Like Jackie Love was actually fucking hot guard. Like you want to talk about Ning being bad, but holy shit, Jackie Love was terrible. But I think Fnatic also underperformed the first game as well. So like it was a little bit of both. I didn't feel like either team was quite playing super perfect in either team's wins or losses, which was I was a little disappointed that it wasn't like Jackie Love popping off versus Reckless popping off versus like all these other pop offs. But Fnatic were definitely the better team.
Yeah.
And so I called to talk about that and how I thought the quarterfinal and semifinal matchups were going to go.
Okay.
I mean, we haven't talked about. I've been watching the show. I don't think we talked about really quarterfinal matchups at all.
No, go for it.
And I wasn't going to touch on the right side of the bracket just because it's like a whole different topic. But I mean, I guess we can segue into that. But
Yeah,
I
we
just
can do
think that Fnatic versus EDG, like obviously they're different teams than 3 years ago when they played, but that was a quick 3-0, and I think it's going to be almost similar because if Team Liquid, albeit they did look really good on their group stage day, I thought they played a lot better than they did in the first 4 days. But if Team Liquid can take a game off of EDG, I think that Fnatic should be able to handle that one 3-1, 3-2 pretty easily. I don't think it'll be a 3-0, but I think that quarterfinal matchup will be pretty easy. And then I'm hoping for the Western semifinal. I think pretty much everyone is, but I don't think that'll be too difficult no matter the opponent they face. So I'm pretty confident in a easy road to the final.
I think Fnatic versus EDG should be pretty easy. I think IG are significantly better. And even if they weren't playing like completely up to par, if Jackie Love and Ning weren't playing great, but either way, I still think IG's way better than EDG, so they should be able to win that one. Inero, how do you feel about Afrika versus C9 and like overall thoughts on Afrika?
Yeah. So when watching like Afrika's games, I was talking actually like I just like had to record a show with like Thorn and them talking about this stuff too.
Leak it all here.
Yeah, the Afrika stuff, the way they were playing around 1-3-1 and they should have been able to get leads and like break tier 2 turrets really didn't look that clean. They were really slow about actually setting up that process. And when they like ran into stuff, it was the other team generally engaging on them when they were just taking too long to actually get set up and make advantages off of this, rather than them actually like making these clear advantages and winning the games themselves. So it didn't really look that clean, and I wasn't too super impressed by it. I think it'll actually be a pretty hype matchup, just looking at like Keen in the top lane and Jensen in mid playing versus or obviously
Kuro and
Licorice top lane playing versus Keen, and then Jensen playing versus Kuro. I actually think those matchups will be super hype, and that'll kind of decide everything. I think it's possible that C9 can win. I don't think it's like super likely, but it's probably their best chance of all the people they could have ended up playing against as first seeds to go through for sure. So I'm happy they got stuck with that, since it might mean a Western semifinal. The only problem is I think their bot lane is pretty hard doomed and if Afrika can punish that really well, then I think it's pretty over.
Kramer and Tucson aren't too like lane dominant though, so maybe it won't be that bad. So I think we agree Fnatic's favored over EDG. What do you put the odds at? Because just because something's a good matchup doesn't mean you're favored. I think it's like you said, a good matchup for C9 versus Afrika. I don't know if you'd favor them though. I'd say 75%, 25% for Fnatic over EDG.
Yeah, I think Fnatic should beat EDG pretty easily. I think the main thing that matters against beating Fnatic is actually having like good mid jungle duo, and I think that was like the biggest thing that failed in IG. Even though they had Rookie who is performing really well, it's just the actual synergy between him and Ning didn't look too great. I don't think EDG is going to be able to contest that. I think they're too inconsistent with that whole setup of the team. Pretty sure they should win 3-1, 3-0.
And then for Afrika C9?
Afrika C9 is like a huge shitfest of where it'll end up. I have no way to have a guaranteed prediction there. I'm hoping 3-2 NA wins, but that's just me being a fanboy.
Okay, and then KRC is also hoping for the C9 Fnatic matchup.
Yeah, I'm hoping for it, but that doesn't necessarily mean I think it's going to happen. I think both of those games on that side of the bracket are going to be so much fun to watch, just because of the style that the teams play. Like, I'm really looking forward to that side of the bracket. It's just I think that Afrika looked a lot better again in their day of groups, and I think that they'll probably win it. But just from like living in NA standpoint, I'd love to see C9 versus Fnatic.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful as a fanboy. I don't think it'll happen, but I can have dumb hope.
You don't think it'll happen, so you think that?
Well, last time I doubted them, they got out of groups. So like, I'm gonna say that I doubt it's happening and just hoping,
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Fnatic are favored in their matchup. I think C9 has a chance in theirs, which is more than is usually the case versus the Korean teams in best of 5.
Yeah.
So. We'll talk about the Fnatic C9 semifinal match when we get there.
Should we talk? Yeah. Should we talk about the other side of the bracket?
Sure.
I think we should, because like this will probably be our prediction call.
So G2 versus I'm brain farting. RNG.
Yeah.
Similar how I said, like, you can have a good matchup and still not be favored. That's how the G2 matchup feels to me. I actually think G2's bot lane, if they can get like good picks, might not get hard slammed by Uzi. And then I think Let Me's been a bit disappointment if Wonder can get his picks. I think they actually have a good style matchup, but I don't know if they have quite the talent to go toe-to-toe, or the team fighting, because RNG is really good at team fighting and forcing fights.
Yeah, I mean, I think RNG should win. They can maybe lose if they don't change up this like comp they've been running of just a shit ton of bruisers and Uzi on Kaisa, and that's it. But I'm pretty sure they should win pretty easily unless they just decide to lead Heimer up or do that stuff. Just please don't leave Heimer up. Please don't like ego out and think that you can play against it, and then just give G2 like a free easy 1-3-1 comp that they're gonna really enjoy playing with Heimerdinger in mid.
Travis, someone apparently in the waiting room is wanting to talk about RNG G2, so maybe we'll swap the callers out for this part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
I didn't realize that. Thank you so much, KRC25, for the call.
Yep, thanks for having me again.
Man.
Yeah. And Rafa is here. Rafa, where are you calling from?
Hey, Travis. I am calling from Salt Lake City, Utah. Although I was in Busan a couple days ago, and thank you for the photo. I didn't get a chance to tell you thank you for everything else. I was too, like, holy shit, I'm with Travis PogChamp. So, but now I'm here.
Very good. I've turned you down a bit. For some reason, you were pretty loud. But yeah, it's super nice to meet you. I do remember, I think I asked you where you're from, and you said Salt Lake. Or did I? Maybe I didn't.
Yes.
I think I did.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the call, and nice to meet you. What do you want to talk about G2 RNG?
Yes, I do. This is so I think it was funny how everyone's talking about, oh man, Cloud9, they've got a chance against the Freak of Freaks, or Fnatic are definitely going to beat EDG, and no one's talking about my boys G2 Esports against RNG, because everyone thinks, I think a lot of people are just kind of taking it for guaranteed that it's just going to be RNG versus KT in semis, and then depending on how well both teams adapt and draft, and they'll be the final matchup. But G2, I agree with Marks. The style matchup between G2 and versus RNG is very favored for G2. I think Let Me is the weakest Chinese top laner at this tournament. We've seen how well both Ray from EDG has been performing. We've seen how well Duke and the Shy have been performing in their individual matchups, and how deep their champion pools are. Whereas Let Me is, if he's not playing Urgot or Aatrox, he's not playing a carry top laner. It's just Sion, it's Shen, or it's Ornn. And I think that lack of being able to play an actual carry top laner outside of the two pick bans in Urgot and Aatrox is going to give Wunder a huge advantage to be able to smash top lane super easily, almost in every single game, because you can get those two picks out of the way, and then you can then start putting Wunder on stuff like Camille. We already saw how well the Shy did with Gangplank, so maybe Wunder returns back to the Pirate. And then as long as Hjarnan and Woodid are able to neutralize Uzi and Ming, and Uzi doesn't go back to stuff like Lucian or Callista, then that 1-3-1 split push style that G2 has been improving on ever since from play-in stage is going to help them immensely, and I definitely think it's going to Game 5, and it just depends on how well RNG then adapts overall, and how well Xiaohu or MLXG step up in terms of being needed to be more aggressive in the early game so that G2 do not take that lead and then just choke them out until the end game.
What do you guys
think? Do you think G2 looked good in their group?
I'm sorry?
Do you think G2 looked good in their group in their wins? I'm assuming, yeah, if you're taking
yeah, for sure.
Can you put your mic a little further away, Rafa? Sorry.
Let me turn down the sensitivity. It's probably like destroying Twitch chat's ears. My bad.
It's all good, dude.
All right. Test 1, 2.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, it's 20 times better.
All right. Sorry about that.
No problem. Rafa, what do you think the odds are G2 wins?
I would say. I know I was like hyping them up and stuff, but like now I have to take a step back and be realistic about it. Honestly, it's like 45%, because I think RNG, from a coaching perspective, are going to pay a lot of respect to, obviously, the Heimerdinger pick and how G2 plays 1-3-1. But I still think that G2 style overall gives them a strong advantage, and we just haven't really seen RNG play anything else other than put Uzi on a late game carry, put Xiaohu on something that is more utility focused and plays around playing around bot lane once. Because a lot of the times there are 2 games, I think, where RNG was losing almost the entire game except one team fight. They got a massive team fight, they aced Baron, or they just ended the game through mid. And having that win condition, while it is impressive they can do it, I don't think it's something that is it's something that they should rely on. And I hope that G2 looks at that and can play around just continuously choking them out with their 1-3-1.
Yeah, so I didn't think G2's 1-3-1 looked that great. I think that they were plagued by a lot of the issues TL even had, with people getting picked off that shouldn't be getting picked off. Really bad teleport plays coming out of perks. I mean, they're good in lane. Like, their players are playing really well in lane, and especially when they get Heimer, they just have 3 winning lanes generally that are doing really well. But the way they play on the map, like, people are getting picked way too often for that to be consistent against really good teams. Like, unless RNG just show up and they look really bad, I really don't think G2 are actually going to do that well. I'm like a fucking fanboy of the players for sure, but I have to be like very honest with the fact that, like, as a team and playing it out as a team, they haven't looked that good. I really think Flash Wolves should have advanced over them. They beat them early that day, looked way better than them. The game stalled out because Flash Wolves missed taking a Baron, so Yankos stole it away, stalled out. They got the next Baron instead and ended off that. And then, for some reason, Flash Wolves decided that they thought Mordekaiser Tom Kench was going to counter Heimerdinger in the last game, and they got shit on. And then they also had counterpick mid, where Perks ends up with Aurelia into Ryze, which is nice. He just ends up snowballing really hard on that lane, and he has a much bigger advantage than he should have. And they essentially won off laning phase in that game. They didn't have to play like team play wise anything at all. I didn't see anything super amazing out of G2. And my only hope for them going further than where they are now is just out of pure fanboyism. Like I don't think they look too great personally.
I think I agree with some stuff Nero said, disagree with other. I thought Flash Wolves looked fucking terrible. Like, I agree G2's like macro was not fantastic, but the fact that Flash Wolves struggled so hard to punish anything with a split push, because it happened again in the Afrika game, and it happened the first time versus G2, like they were fucking booty hole if like you didn't agree to fight them. And I
The
think
whole
like
group sucked.
that whole group was pretty bad. 100% agree. So, I mean, that's splitting hairs about which of those two teams like didn't look as bad. I think G2, while like you can say like the split push style versus RNG style should be good, which I think in a theoretical world it is, but like G2 don't actually play that fast, and like you saw what happened when Gen G tried to go like split push versus RNG, and like they just kept engaging on Ruler, and Ruler kept outplaying it until the one time he didn't, and then the game was just over. And like that's exactly what Flash Wolves wasn't doing to G2. It was like they weren't engaging over and over again. So like I actually think if RNG drafts enough engage, they're really good about like their timing windows and engaging. And like what ended up happening to RNG and why they dropped games was because Vitality and C9 played really aggressive and snowballed the game against them. And that's like not what G2 does that well. So, like, eventually, RNG actually did have to stop picking late game carries. They started playing Kallistas and Lucians because they were getting rolled by C9 and Vitality, and they got scared off late game. But, like, against G2, you're not going to get scared off late game. Like, Uzi's going to pick Kaisa, Zaya, Trist, I don't know, whatever late game shit he wants, get there through a free laning phase, and then, like, if RNG's engages are on point, G2's probably going to lose. But I do agree, if G2 can just split the map and avoid those engages, I actually do think Let Me is a huge liability versus Wonder. And I think Perks with Counterpick should be able to outperform. And he has a nasty Akali. So even blue side, like if he can blind Akali and stuff like that, because there are a fair amount of things you want to ban versus G2, it's not that hard to actually get blue side Akali for G2. I do think they have a lot of powerful picks that can help them out. But I think it's probably closer to the Fnatic over EDG prediction for me, like probably 75-25 for RNG.
Yeah.
The main thing I'm excited to see is just the actual like laning phase play out in those games.
Yeah.
Like the way top of mid plays out will be super interesting, and that's like if they're winning through that, that's what I'm happy. If they don't advance, but they are at least like doing really well in lane and competing off that and getting like decent leads, then I'm pretty happy with G2's performance at Worlds overall.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you
I
so
think
much. Oh, go ahead and just
sorry.
wrap us up, Rafa.
Just last thing. I think the other thing that will be just interesting to note is how well Jankos plays, because I think this is the weakest he's ever played in an international tournament, if I'm correct on that. And I'm hoping that even if G2 loses this best of 5, that he goes down swinging. I want to see him on Lee Sin again. I want to see him on really aggressive champions and not making questionable mechanical misplays around the map.
Hey, thank you so much, Rafa.
Thank you.
Okay, 3 more callers to go. Catching up on some subs. Pedro Polo 75, Dan E, Grumpy Monkey, Det 3 month Twitch Prime sub, Tommy Tat 2 months, Artha LOL, Tenebrisalim, Control the Snow, Newcroft, Petrock 02, Soda Cop, and Kylo Zen. We're all caught up. Hopefully no one else subs, because then I have to read it. That would be painful. Toph Beifong is here. Toph Beifong, thank you for being a Twitch sub. What do you want to call? Or what do you want to talk about? Sorry. Where are you calling from? Blah.
I'm calling from Fable, Arkansas.
Fable, Arkansas. Sorry, the long trip is starting to get to me. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
I was just going to talk about the value of play-ins, and I think the reason that first seeds in NA suffer is due to the domestic success that they have, and I think that losses are inherently more valuable, and that gives you an echo chamber to kind of like find your faults, and in addition, the play-in gives the extra stage time to like iron out nerves, that kind of stuff. I know they've been talking about it on Twitter and Reddit. And C9 has kind of came out like, well, there's some downsides too, but I think generally, I think that's why the third seed in NA performs better. It gives us more time to adapt and know that the way we were playing isn't right.
I think it's more of just the first seed in NA is always typically played this like super slow, punished enemy making over aggressive errors and just slowly winning the game that way. The kind of thing that like plagued TSM in the past too. I think TL kind of has issues with that for the most part too. They obviously have some like weird over aggression stuff in relation to like objectives and the way they play the game, but stuff that they're doing works really well in NA and leads to domestic success really easily. And I don't know. I think maybe they just get locked into that type of play style, and then when they go international, it's doomed. And
What
they
do you think
haven't really
about-
experimented further?
What about think about 2016 TSM? Because I didn't think that they were too reactive. They forced a lot of bot dives, but then like just couldn't do it against that group.
I can't remember exactly 2016 TSM.
It was like
I don't
the
remember like what
double-
roster that was.
Doublelift plays Lucian every game, and Sven and Bjerg roam bottom, and they just destroy people's bot lanes.
I mean, that's essentially just TL right now at the better mid, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the same play style.
So, teams that go through through play-ins who are not LMS or wildcard regions are 6-0 at getting out of groups. They've gotten out every single time. Twice for C9, Fnatic last year, G2 this year, EDG, and WE. So, I'm actually inclined to buy in on the idea that like the extra stage time in prep is more valuable, as G2 Grabs has said like if they didn't get to play in play-ins, they wouldn't have got out of their groups, and C9 before going into play-ins said like, yeah, we're happy to play in play-ins, we want to play in play-ins, and I'm sure they would attribute some of their success to the fact that they had a full BO5 versus Gambit, even if they were kind of trolling picks, like gave them a chance to learn stuff. So I'm relatively inclined to like think play-ins is actually a benefit.
Do you think that benefit will go away long term? Because right now you go there and you're like, okay, we can get out, but at some point in time, like the other teams are going to start getting competitive enough that like you're risking a lot by heading there.
I think it's a risk reward kind of thing. Like, how confident are you in your team? If you're not that confident, you should actually probably go and play in play-ins, because you have no chance of getting out if you just go into groups.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said like C9's been like our third seed every time. Is that true?
Yeah,
C9's been
they're
our
always
third
our third seed. They've gotten through Gauntlet every single time since Gauntlet existed.
Maybe it's just more of a case of C9 gears up more at Worlds than
Yeah, but we see this with the
like
other
they're
regions
just
too,
playing
right?
better at Worlds than they do in NA. Maybe they care more at Worlds.
Yeah, but it's also true that EDG and WE got out, as well as Fnatic and G2.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I think it's interesting because it allows you to win games on the world stage, to, like, build experience, so you're not just TL in your first games against KT and you shit your pants. Like, I actually think that stuff, from a mentality standpoint, it's pretty valuable. And they're harder fought games than you're going to get in scrims. Like, everyone knows scrim practices can be pretty booty hole. So I'm down with the idea that, like, I think it'd be really cool if you offered the one seed of a region, whether or not they wanted to go into play-ins or not.
Oh, that'd be cool. Actually, I really like it when you give a team a decision, like when you let them pick
like
their opponents or something like that. So I think letting them decide if they want to go in. I just feel like nobody would. I feel like people would be too afraid that they'd go in and something would fluke and then they'd not make it out.
Yeah, but I think it's a fun decision. I would love to see it, and I don't think it
screw
hurts.
over the wildcard teams, because now they might randomly end up with a first seed team than like a third seed?
I don't think so. I mean, no offense to the wildcard regions, but the only time they've ever gotten out was against HKA. Sucked. In 1907, Fenerbahce beat them and then went, 0-6 in the group of death? So, like, I don't know. Is it that different?
I mean, it just feels very like, if the reasoning is, well, the wildcard teams suck anyway. It's just a feel bad.
Well,
reason.
if you were a wildcard team, are you, I think, I would imagine that they're excited to go up against the other regions no matter what.
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong here, and hopefully some in a future call, international wildcard viewer can, or a emerging region viewer who has been emerging for 3 years can tell me if you would like to play TL or you'd like to play C9 or if it doesn't make a difference to you.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting with that point because if you're a first seed and you're scared of going into the play-ins, then you're not planning on winning much at Worlds anyway. Like if you're scared of going in and like dropping out against uh, Kaboom or Detonation or whoever, then what are you going to do when you come up against KT, against EDG, against these other teams?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't want to put the mindset like if you don't go into play-ins, you're scared because you could easily say like, no, we're just confident we don't need play-ins as a ramp-up time, right? Like, I wouldn't expect a lot of these regions to choose that, but it is. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. All right.
I
Well,
think
hey,
there's something to it.
we have to move on to our next caller, but thank you so much, Taf Bei Fong, for the call.
All right, thank you.
Reading out some subs. There was a individual who said that I missed their sub. I don't see it in the list, but I did see that they are a sub. I'm trying to catch their name. So, begins with a C. I lost it in Twitch chat because I moved on. So hopefully, that person. Shout out to that person, who will I'm sure say something in chat in a second. Kyle0808 just hit 150 gifted subs, which I think of they've gifted like 140 of those in the past week. I don't know, some insane number, but thank you, Kyle0808 for Kando, Lecho Sengote, Sapral, ZZO XD, and Jordan Ziff. Ducky GG subbed. Vendis Grants gifted a sub to Amanda QTT. And Vandy's Grants gifted a sub to IZ RNG as well. Chovy152, thank you for the Twitch sub. Carnifus
Travis,
is
you know
here.
we have a call.
I know. I'm trying to
Hello?
talk to them, Mark. Carnifus, where are you calling from?
I am calling from the great state of Nebraska.
Well, good to hear from you. There's not very many people that live there, right? That's kind of the thing. Or is it Montana? One of those people don't really live in.
It's both, dude. It's both.
Okay. So is it just you there right now?
Yep. I'm the only one in like the tri-state area. Yep.
Okay. Wow. That must be lonely. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
So something I've been thinking about is with the success of Fnatic, Cloud9, and Vitality. I thought it was interesting that they have all Western rosters, and I'm wondering if part of their success might be attributed to the fact that they have better communication than, say, a team that has two imports whose English skills may not be as strong.
So we should say small sample size here, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll let Inero go first.
What's the sample size on this? Are you comparing TL and?
Well, I mean, yeah, we only have a couple of teams that. There's only a couple teams at Worlds in general, and I don't know. It just feels weird
Thieves
that
is mixed roster as well.
I mean, I guess I don't really know what their English levels are like. I'm pretty sure when I spoke to Ole like last off season,
Ole's English.
his English was like good. And I'm
Pretty
pretty
good, I'm pretty sure.
Impact's been around a while. I'm pretty sure his English is
Impact's English is very Twitch chat-esque.
I mean, that's fine. You don't need to be like eloquent when you speak, as long as like concepts make sense to you and like review and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it holds them back from contributing and talking about sort of the finer points of the game? Because I mean, there are like sort of different levels of fluency, right? I mean, you can say top die, or you can talk about,
of course,
talk about the more intricate points of why did top die? Did he?
I think instead of looking at
It's
the
like a
players, if you want to look
philosophical-
at TL, you want to look at the coach, because Kane I don't think has great English, and that might be the bigger issue rather than Impact or Ole. If you were to say there's an issue here with language.
Well, I think the other thing too is you're not just like weighting language against itself. Like, I don't think it's an argument of being fluent is better than not being fluent with the rest of the team. It's about like, well, Impact's English is not great, but he's a better player than any top laner we would have gotten. so we picked Impact, right? Like I think that's really what you're weighing it against.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess my question is like, at what point does the value of being able to communicate more efficiently with your team outweigh, someone who might be a slightly worse player than Impact, but they can communicate better?
I mean, as long as you're not a liability to your team, as long as you're like performing okay, because like Impact isn't even performing great. Like his laning stats are pretty abysmal, and like, I mean, he does okay, but he's nothing exceptional. Like I don't know. I feel like to replace him on that team, you just have to be like a decent top and be okay. I don't know. I value communication pretty highly. As long as though you're able to communicate, it's fine. As long as you don't need a translator, I don't think it really inhibits your team that much. There's definitely some limitations in like actual review aspects, but
What if the coach needs a translator?
the coaching to I think if you have to involve a translator at all, it's pretty problematic. Like it just slows everything down. Like it might work, but I don't know how workable like Kane's English is, but I know like having a translator is really annoying for anyone involved in the process for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless like everyone has some understanding of Korean or the coach has some understanding of English. It's really, really annoying to do things to a translator.
I think the bigger thing for me when you have you have an all native roster is that it's a good sign for the region. I mean, Inero, you've talked about this for a long time about like people who claim NA doesn't have talent or that we have to import in order to succeed or anything like that, and certainly feels like certain teams are proving that to be incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, NA talent definitely exists, so.
Well, also you had a Korean top laner on Echo Fox. Did you ever feel like Huni's level of English was a problem? I mean, Huni has really good English, so I assume not. But
Nah. Huni's English was great, but like going back to like the short time I was with Looper, like Looper's English was, it was problematic to a certain extent, like it's hard to communicate because, it's hard to understand as well, and it slows down communication. And so I was much more willing to put Brandini in at the time as the season went on because it was just similar performance or like similar outcome of what would happen in top lane, but the English was at least workable with everyone.
Dayton wants you to read Discord, Inero. Like,
read
and I think
Discord.
he wants you to read it publicly.
He said, "Preach."
That's it.
That was it. I don't really know what I'm preaching there, but
Yeah.
I think my general thoughts on it are as long as, like Inero said, you can get the English to a workable level. In game, I think that the talent supplement that most imported Korean players bring is more than enough to justify it. I think if there's actual in-game communication problems of people not being able to say what they want or need, then obviously that's a big problem. And in terms of translator, I mean, like C9 has done it with a translator for the most part. Like Reaper had a translator for different periods of time in his career, I believe, with like Robin helping out. So I'm a little bit more on the fence of the translator, though I do agree it does slow everything down to a pretty painful pace. But I don't think that's the problem for why NA doesn't get out.
Okay.
Hey, thank you so much for the call, Carnifus. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, one last caller to go. Taking a look at the sub chart right now. Uber Lawn Gnome reset for 8 months in a row. Are you going to cover the Minecraft Hunger Games tournament this year? I am unaware that was a thing.
I'll go for you if you want.
Really? For Travis Gafford Industries, you can be on the floor?
Minecraft Hunger Games is lit. It's actually too good.
Donovan is here. Donovan,
hello.
Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Illinois.
Illinois. What do you want to talk about on the show tonight?
So I'll read my topic here. Basically, kind of talk about why this meta might give the best chance for a Western team to possibly make it to finals and maybe even win it all. Kind of comparing that to previous metas and the successes and failures of previous Western teams. And I think Inero kind of touched on TSM and Liquid already, kind of playing that reactive style and how that's like really never worked. But this meta kind of gives C9 and G2 and Fnatic the opportunity to pick comps that you can force fights, right, around all of the objectives that have kind of been like put into the game now, and kind of given more priority. So I think we've kind of seen that in C9 in previous years with some different picks that have made fighting easier, as well as like things like Misfits last year, where there's picks where you can force fights early and not just let these teams that maybe play the reactive style so much better than everybody else kind of just control the game. So I think this meta gives more picks and more ways to play to just kind of give Western teams a better possibility of winning.
I think it's definitely helped that there hasn't just been like a random huge change up right beforehand too. Just pretty nice. It's made Worlds more enjoyable to watch for me, at least.
Which is interesting because I think that in the past I have thought that a random weird change-up would benefit the Western teams because you're creating more volatility, which should like lessen the skill gap.
Well, right now it just feels like early game matters a lot more. So it's been stable. Early game matters more. Laning means a lot more. You can win games more often off of laning and not relying on having like really good ability to play the game later and stall games out, which has been what a lot of teams have done. Like Genji, they dropped out of their group. They could not stall any game. It wasn't even possible. It didn't look like they were actually playing to win games, but it worked for them in the past. Doesn't work right now because laning phase actually gives actually is important.
I think laning phase is always important. I remember the 2013, 2014 years where we just got smashed in lanes. But I do agree that like the meta is very fast paced right now. Like the ability to snowball off a single Baron is disgusting. Whereas like in the past it hasn't always been that crazy. There's no like ardent sensor in the meta. There's no like you must build this thing. And so teams that have strengths can actually go and like approach those strengths differently. Whereas like everything was about bot lane for the most part last year. You still had like mid lanes, there's some stuff, but for the most part, it was like you have to build Ardent Sensor. If your AD carry is bad, you probably are not going to go very far in the tournament. And this year, like if you have a beast top laner who wants to play carry picks, like great. If you want to play Orange Sion and other stuff, great. I think there's a lot more just options available, which allows teams to actually use their strengths versus just conform to what is a tournament meta.
You can play a lot of different stuff right now, which feels real good. It's really nice to see play out.
Yeah, and kind of... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Kind of, I don't want to disagree completely, but I think that some of the things, like, I guess just the picks have not really been established yet. I mean, maybe coming into Worlds, each region had their kind of picks, like Zillion in NA was big, and I don't know how much that was put in other places, but there's a lot that's getting brought out as kind of counter picks or maybe just to go neutral in lane. That other regions didn't really recognize until now. And most of the time when some teams do that, it kind of drops dead. And I feel like this year, there's a lot of opportunity in that. Like RNG said, we want to watch Jensen play Zillion to kind of like see how it works and like learn about it, right? So I think there's a lot more respect to some of the other pocket picks that people are bringing out. And I think that there's a possibility in this like first in the quarters that there's probably going to be some picks we haven't seen yet that might get brought out. So I'm optimistic.
Maybe. I think like new and diverse types of picks tend to emerge when early game is more impactful, and it's kind of how it is right now, or it's just more viable to actually play out a game through the early half and be able to snowball that reliably. Someone in the chat, LOL Mintu, also said like early game vision being reduced because of Tracker's Knife being gone. I think stuff like that's been pretty important for enabling things overall too, because these types of picks work more because you can actually, I don't know, get some cheesier shit off and have more inconsistency in the early games playing out because you can't just track the jungler the entire like first 15 minutes of the game.
So what's interesting about that too is like I tried to I worked just our stats team to try and like look up some stats around that, and like war per minute numbers and like war clear per minute numbers aren't actually that different than some of previous years. But what I think is different, and like I don't know how to prove this numerically, but like a lot of the vision went away from like 3-minute sightstone / green smite. I can't remember the fucking name of that item.
Tracker's
Knife. Like that stuff got pulled out, and it's a lot about like trinket wards, which actually don't last 3 minutes. They scale up to 3 minutes over time as like you level more. So in the early game, you get more temporary vision, but it doesn't last as long. And then like I'm pretty sure like zombie wards count as real wards, and like blue trinkets count as real wards. And so like I think the actual pool of real wards that last long periods of time, like pinks and sightstone wards specifically, is a lot lower. But it has been replaced with these kind of like temporary shitty vision things. And so the numbers actually don't look that different, but I agree with the point that like I do like everyone has talked about how it feels like there's less vision in the game. I couldn't quite find a stat to prove it, but like I'm pretty sure it's because there's so much like random crappy vision that it does like gets cleared instantly. It's not like a real ward that sits there for 3 minutes. And so I haven't been able to find it, but like it definitely feels like there's like you just don't get choked out anymore. I don't see these barren setups where it's like, yeah, and all their vision's gone, and this team's just gonna sit there for a minute and push mid, and then sit there for a minute and push mid, and sit there for a minute, and one of the times they start it, like that's not a strat anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you can't walk into someone's jungle like after you get Tracker's Knife and just place a ward at their camps and just have complete knowledge of where they're at on that side of the map as easily. Like it's completely different, and I think it's pretty nice. It's definitely like an overlook change for sure.
Yeah, I think some of these picks.
Oh no,
sorry.
Go ahead.
I think some of the picks too that are coming in that there's a lot of opportunity for outplay. So even with full vision, some of these highlight plays, people are taking them knowing, hey, there's a chance I can turn this. Like I think there's the one with Aurelia. Was that Duke that like, rolled in like what 1v4 or something like that? There's a lot of just like there's strong picks, but they can also get stomped if they're dealt with right. So it's just I don't know. I think kind of like transitioning, it makes it for probably the best worlds to like actually watch. I don't know. I've enjoyed watching this a lot just because it's explosive. There's a lot of variety. So, yeah.
One final point about the meta. If you look at presence, or not presence, but the amount of picks relative to bans, like something can still be 100% presence in terms of pick banned every game, but like the actual number of picks getting through are higher. We haven't gotten through any of the knockout stage yet, and Aatrox is the highest presence at 100%, but he's been picked 17 times. Alistar picked 16, Urgot picked 20, and these are all 90% plus presence champions. In previous years, like Kalista was 100% banned, 80 bans. Galio had a 91% presence, but 21 picks only. So like if Alistar gets picked 5 more times over the course of the tournament, he's been picked more. And so if you go back to season 6, like it's 11 picks for Nidalee over the course of the tournament while being 100% presence, or 16 for Syndra before it drops down drastically. There's no, even though there are clearly still the priority champions and like they came into the meta, everyone knew Aatrox, Alistar, Urgot, Akali type things were super strong. They are not so much stronger that you must spend bans on them, which I think makes Red Side a lot more interesting than it was in the past, where you had these perma bans that you basically needed to throw down.
Yeah, and I think another cool thing is teams like C9 and G2, where Heimerdinger and like Zillion are such priority picks that maybe you have to pick what you want to get through, right? So you might ban someone's comfortable pick, but then something really strong, I shouldn't say really strong, but stronger gets through. So I think that it's really cool with where the meta's at right now with that as well. And some of these priority picks actually having enough, or I guess the comfortable picks having enough possibility to actually carry games, that you get a lot of different priority picks between different teams, which makes it interesting when it comes to possibly a best of 5 in these quarters. So,
hey Donovan, thank you so much for the call.
Yep, thanks.
Have a good one.
Thanks, man.
All right, that is the show. We're gonna do some shout outs. Mark, you got anything you want to say?
Nope.
You got nothing. No offline TV stuff to plug. No, like I'm gonna be at the quarterfinals desk.
No. No, I won't be. My world's is Denzo. It's been Denzo for a while.
Oh, really?
I was doing group stage, but I was only doing the 3 days of group stage in the middle.
Okay.
So Worlds is over, but I'm going to TwitchCon now officially.
Nice.
Ooh.
I'm also going to TwitchCon, and I shouldn't probably say this until it's confirmed, but
say it anyways.
There's a very good chance. I give it 80% chance right now that there will not be an episode of Hotline League next Monday, and I apologize because we might be doing one live from TwitchCon. So if you are going
Live
to TwitchCon
ones.
and you want to see it, we're trying to coordinate. Kelby might be able to make it. And we're trying to see what his schedule looks like. We're trying to see. We have a stage opportunity that we might be able to take. They're looking into the technical stuff on it. So if you are going to TwitchCon, there's a very good chance that we'll do it live there. And of course, we would broadcast it here on the stream as well. That would be our second time doing it live. So that would be pretty hype. When is Travis going to
try
Japan?
and slip in?
Day after quarterfinals. What'd you say, Mark?
Did you just try and slip in the fact that we aren't going to have one on Monday after quarterfinals? Travis.
Inero, do you have any shout-outs, plugs, anything you want to
Travis,
say?
I've woken up a number of times and fucked my sleep schedule for this. Are you really not going to do the same?
Well, the problem is we can't do two within the same week. What would we talk about? Especially between groups or after quarterfinals, and we would be doing
if it's
two...
on, isn't...
No, because if we do it Friday, we would be at TwitchCon, which is the most likely time we would do it. We would be doing it before semis start.
Okay, never mind then. I thought it was going to be maybe on Saturday, and then we would have at least one semifinal matchup to talk about.
And we've been doing them more frequently than once every 7 days. So, like, we did one literally 4 days ago, I think.
Yeah, I know. And then we would do another one because guess what? Quarterfinal starts tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Inero, what do you got?
You don't care.
Nothing. Just thanks for having me on again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's been a while.
Yeah. Nobody called in to talk about Golden Guardians. Are you guys already
That's
looking
fine.
at like, are you in the like build roster stage yet? Are you eyeing talent?
mean, yeah, it's like the whole like off-season phase. You know how that goes.
Who's in Korea trying to poach talent for you guys?
We sent Benji to Korea, his undercover agent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Currently infiltrating scrims, poaching people real hard.
Nice. Very good. Well, thanks, Inero, for coming on the show. Really quickly, I should shout out Is Goody for the Twitch Prime, who sent it right at the end. Also, shout out to anybody who right now moves their cursor over my face, sees that they have a Twitch Prime sub, and drops it. And shout out to anybody watching the VOD or listening to the podcast that comes to my channel, even if I'm not live, to send it. I've got a ton of stuff up on my YouTube channel for coverage of Worlds. Go check it out.
All of it's bad.
If you want even more 100T discussion than like the giant conversation we had at the very beginning of the show, I did a video about that. Apparently, Nate Shot listened to it on stream. I think somebody said, did he say that he was down to come on the show, Mark?
Yeah, I watched the Twitch clip. He said he would come on.
He did say he would come on, but did not reply to a DM.
But he
so
said
maybe he's sleeping.
Well, he said in the Twitch clip, I would come on. I'd be willing to. And then he said kind of like after like an announcement or something from the team.
Oh, okay.
So it sounded like they might have been planning. I don't know. And then I sent him a DM last night after he was done streaming, and he probably went to bed.
Cool. Well,
he's hiding from us.
Yeah.
Our hard-hitting journalistic.
Something. He's changed.
Yeah.
He's changed his sleep schedule to avoid us. Either way, shout out to Nate Shot. It's cool. Hopefully, we'll have him on the show in the future. Probably not the TwitchCon episode, but eventually. And shout out to all of you, wonderful people, for being here watching this. Thank you, Purple Dog, for the Twitch Prime. This has been Hotline League. By the way, we didn't even address this. 50 episodes. That's pretty slick. I feel
the
really good about
longest
this.
running show in esports.
Is it? It might be.
No one checked that. The longest running show in esports.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. This has been episode 50.